we were kind of overboard because my husband's a scientist and I didn't want to get sick. And so we were really trying our best. But at the end of the day, I still got it. And I think that's what's really scary is people are kind of like, man, if you can get it, anybody can get it.
Well, it's been some time since we've seen you or heard from you, in fact, and we're going to talk about why that is. And I just want to say up front, we are so happy to have you back. So, that being said, Anna, why haven't we heard from you in almost 2 months?
Yeah, in early June, I got coronavirus. And so I was just really, really sick. It came on like a train. The first couple days, I had a really high fever and I was nauseous and I couldn't breathe. And then a couple days later, I actually went to the hospital for the first time during this whole episode. And then I went to the hospital again. And then I had like a huge long time of just having a daily fever and I couldn't get rid of the fever. So that's when I kind of became a long hauler because they just couldn't get me well. Eventually, I had a 3-day stint without a fever and I was able to come back to work the next week. So I'm really grateful to be back.
And we are so very grateful to have you back. And I know a lot of listeners and viewers and people out there in the Northwest have expressed that once they heard about your plight with coronavirus. You've gotten a lot of emails. And I wonder, you were covering, of course, the coronavirus pandemic, as almost all journalists were in some form before this. And you were looking at how workers in meat processing plants in the region, of course, were responding. And now you've had that experience of actually being greatly affected by it. I wonder if that sort of changed your perspective or maybe just informed how you might be reporting on it and the people affected by it going forward.
Yeah, I can remember one story in particular, Scott. It was in the early part of the year when the coronavirus was still just as we knew in China at that time, even though it had already come to the United States and was in the United States, they think now, but we didn't know that yet. And I was traveling around talking to different farmers and oyster cultivators and shipping people, trying to understand how coronavirus was changing our food systems. I just remember thinking, man, this is bad, but it seemed like a problem that was mostly over there and that we were just kind of getting these residual effects. And now, having had it, I just feel like I have so much empathy for the sources that I cover normally. But now I really feel like I'm having a lot more empathy for people who are sick for a long time because I've had a little window into what that's like.
I think the obvious question that I know you've been asked a little bit since you came back was, well, how did you get exposed? Like, do you know, was there contact tracing? Do you know what happened? And I'll just note that, you were covering a lot of these topics and the meat processing plants, but you weren't going there particularly for the reason of it there being the risk. We didn't want you to be exposed and things like that, but you eventually were somehow. Do you know how you got it?
Yeah, I feel like I was a social distancing ninja is what I've been telling people. Like I was trying to not go anywhere. I was trying to like not touch my mail until 3 days after it came to the house. I was not getting takeout food. I was getting grocery delivery and sanitizing everything that came into the house. I mean, we were kind of overboard because my husband's a scientist and I didn't want to get sick. And so we were really trying our best. But at the end of the day, I still got it. And I think that's what's really scary is people are kind of like, man, if you can get it, anybody can get it. And I think that will be one of the subjects of upcoming story, Scott, is this kind of like you're as careful as you can be, but you still get it.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in hearing about that. And we are just so delighted to have you back with better health. Anna, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Scott.
Find more on these and other topics, Northwest news and coronavirus resources at nwpb.org. Thank you for joining us here in the unique Northwest.